Thank you, Michael. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Exec. Good to see all of your faces on this day. It's a nice day outside. I hope everyone got a chance to enjoy a little bit of outdoor time. I've been in my hot kitchen all day. But anyway, so let's go ahead and get started with our meeting. Michael, can you pull up the agenda? Okay. Can we start with the roll call and the approval of the minutes from last month? Michelle?
Sure. Yep. Alicia.
Yes.
Michael Marino.
Yes.
Lisa Kaplan.
I don't think she's on yet.
No, she's not on yet. Oh, I think Anisha is an
I'm on.
attendee.
Lisa's
Oh, you're here?
on. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Present? Yes. Are you yes?
Yes.
Okay. Eric Diaz.
Yes. Sorry about that.
You're fine. Michelle Cooper Smith. Yes. Herman Hewitt. Herman is not on. Okay. Anisha Seepin.
Yes.
Mei Lee.
Yes.
Jackie Wong.
Yes.
Linda Jones.
Yes.
Alex Militano.
Yes.
Trevor Holland.
Yes.
Paul Rangel.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, good. Thank you, everybody. And the chair's report is just very small announcement, but very big announcement because we have our nominating committee. We've done it ahead of the game. Thank you, Linda, for stepping up and being our chair again for the 2020 nominating committee for Exec. And we have 4 other board members that have joined Linda. Ellen, Paul, Robin, and Sandra have joined Linda on this on the 2020 nominating committee. So thank you so very much, Linda, for stepping up and doing this very important job and approving these 4 great individuals. And I know you guys will do a really great job on the nominating committee. Also, just really briefly, just want to welcome Michael back. For those that got the email, Michael left, now he's back. So thank you, Michael, for coming back for however long you decide to stay. So that's it for my report.
I don't have much for my report either, but I just wanted to go over some Zoom stuff now because the office has taken over a lot of the Zoom stuff that I used to do during the day since I don't have the bandwidth to do it anymore. But just a reminder that if you're gonna start the meeting early to like have a conversation with the chair or with the board members or whatever before you actually start the business, try to pause the recording. Otherwise, we have to go into the YouTube and try to edit out like 10 minutes of non-business to get the meeting to start at the business part of it. And remember to use pause and not stop, because if you stop the recording, it's going to create multiple files. If you pause the recording, it just makes one file. The other Zoom-related thing is right now, all of the committees are pretty much covered and self-sufficient with the exception of arts and culture. So I've run it once, Linda's run it once. I'm going to ask Clint, since he's our third sort of most prolific Zoom person, if he would run the next one. And then maybe between me, Linda, and Clint, we can just take turns running it every month until we start meeting in person again. If that's okay with you, Linda.
It is okay, and I don't think you should take a turn. Just let Clint and me alternate. You have enough responsibilities.
Okay.
Sweet.
I'll ask Clint though. Trevor, you got your hand up? What's up?
Real quick question. I probably should know this, but where do we find the YouTube recordings?
I can, while the meeting's going on, I will open up the YouTube channel and put the link in the chat box, or I'll just email it to you all tomorrow. But if you just search Community Board 3 under YouTube, you should find it.
Yeah, I'm finding the Channel 13 ones as opposed to the current ones.
Try Manhattan Community Board 3.
Yeah, the link is on the website, but it's like
Yeah.
on the right-hand side, kind of down, you know.
It's relatively easy to find.
Everything's on our website, on the home page. If you go on the right-hand column in the bottom, it'll say, I think, meeting videos or something videos. And when you click on it, it'll have one for full board, one for committees, and one for other, which is trainings and those things.
Hey, Alicia, oh,
Oh, sorry. Jackie, you've got your hand up?
Yeah, I just want to say, I think Herman is on the attendees list. So if you want to move him to be on the panel list.
Doing it now. Thank you, Jackie. May?
oh yeah, so I don't know if you want me to mention this now, but since you mentioned nominating committee, Alicia, and elections, at Borough Board, I mentioned that we're preparing for our first virtual election.
Yeah.
So and many other boards are in the same position except for CB1 who already did it. But
Yeah.
they said that, what's his name, Noel, is that his name? Beta New York City. He said he was working on something for CB6 in Manhattan and Queens, the two CB6s in Manhattan and Queens, on some sort of virtual voting thing
Okay.
that could be used. So he's going to pass it along, and then he has some like best practices that actually all the boards need it, but he could pass that along too.
Thank you, May. I did see that today in Borough Board, they commented on Community Board 1 had already had their elections in June. And I think that it was a reference to speaking to Lucian to find out, how that went and, what we could do.
I've already
Susan, I see
done
your
it.
hand. Okay, thank
It's in
you.
my report.
Thank you, Susan. Okay, so
Okay.
we are going, thank you, May, and thank you, Susan. So we'll go on to second vice chair's report.
I guess maybe I should mention very, very briefly that as follow-up to my responsibilities to monitor the attendance, we reviewed everyone who had received the warning letter several months ago, and everybody's attendance improved and met the new criteria. So nobody has to go to the second round of possible elimination.
That is awesome. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you so much. Sorry. Thank you, Lisa. That is awesome. I'm so glad to hear that. I know that we have a couple of members that have been kind of missing in action. I'm not really sure what's going on, so we'll just wait until the next quarter to find out, and I will try to reach out to those members that I've noticed that I haven't seen them. And I know that one of the members is sitting on Paul's committee. So I think Paul and I will reach out to that particular member and find out what's going on. So thank you so much, Lisa. I appreciate that.
Sure.
Anything from the treasurer to report? Herman?
Do you hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Okay, no.
We hear you. You're
No.
you're breaking up.
He said no.
You have nothing to report. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Herman. District manager's report.
Sure, I'll start with the election since you guys brought it up. So just sort of an FYI, for all kinds of operational things, the 12 district managers in Manhattan always email each other about how do you do this? Have you ever done this? So I've already emailed everybody regarding virtual elections. Lucian has sent me, I think it was a vote sheet that they used for the election that to be honest, sounded really complicated. Another board sent me a virtual vote sheet, but it wasn't for elections. But the thing is, next week, I sent around all the workshops from the Community Engagement Commission. And next week, they're doing elections for community boards. So Linda, are you able to attend that?
Yes, I've signed up for it.
Super. So I think, you know, the next step I would say is to wait and see what we learn and, you know, whether they cover virtual. I'm hoping that they'll cover virtual, but wait and see what we do on that. I would also like, when we figure out what we want to do, because basically the only real difference I can see, because we vote all the time anyway, is that we were handed a paper sheet to fill out. And so we need to replace that. You know, I don't know if they're making a bigger deal or not, but I do want to run everything by the Committee on Open Government, because they're the ones who decide things. You know, anybody making up, like Noel or anybody that's making up guidelines, you know, has to run everything by them, you know, to make sure that they're right. So, you know, I feel confident if I go straight to the top to check. But I don't think it's going to be a problem. Briefly, I'll mention you probably heard about pending layoffs from the city. No one has a clear explanation of this, but we just found out this week. There was a phone call from OMB about this program called volunteer layoffs. I wasn't on the phone call. It was, I think it was Monday morning, or Tuesday morning, they scheduled it for Tuesday morning, like an hour later. So there weren't too many people on the call. But then the person from OMB called the rest of us individually. So we have nothing in writing. We all think we heard something slightly different. So what I think I heard was that you can offer your staff, including me, voluntary layoffs. But there's no incentive, there's no like buybacks or early retirement. If you're going to lose your pension, if you quit, you would still lose your pension, or it would be impacted. So the only advantage I can see that would be that if you want to leave your job anyway, this would allow you to quit and still collect unemployment. So on our staff, 3 people said no, and 1 person's going to have a union represent that person. So I don't quite know what that means, but we have to give our hands. Alicia and I have to jointly email OMB next Tuesday. They're calling that the first phase. So I assume they're wondering or looking to see how many people will accept the voluntary layoff, but I can't imagine that very many people would accept that, because there's really no point to it. We have 2 areas in Community Board 3 that have systemic serious complaint issues. But I will say the conditions in Community Board 3, like the conditions in much of Manhattan and the conditions in much of New York City, have deteriorated drastically in many, many ways. I've talked previously about many more homeless. Interesting thing is DHS has not released their hope count from last January, which is supposed to be made public every year. And, I've asked for it. Now I'm asking elected officials to help me get it. But that is not the issue. Often people like to call everything homeless, but the real issues people are complaining about are tremendous amount of crime on the streets. There's lots of people on the streets. They're not all sleeping there. People do have beds, but they come and they're on the street during the day. They're using drugs very openly. They're selling drugs pretty openly. There's a lot of crime, petty crime and more major crime. You have even things like car break-ins, assaults on people. It's all happening to a serious degree. It's brought up at every police meeting. Some merchants and residents together complained to the 9th precinct about the Lower 2nd Avenue area. They called a meeting in the precinct, which was interesting because they weren't wearing masks and they were going in the elevators with the public. But basically, they really didn't say much. They sort of tried to blame it all on homeless and said we had the homeless outreach person there, and they, they kind of said, so what are you going to do? It's a serious problem, and the city is not planning in any way on how to deal with it. Some of the police are more concerned than others, but they all say there's really not much they can do. There's nothing they can do. As far as the 2nd Avenue area, all the residents also contacted the elected officials. So we've had one conference call and we're trying to figure out some steps that can be taken. I don't want to publicly talk about them because they're being investigated, and if they don't work out, it'll be a problem. But it's not very much. I mean, the city has to have a plan. And, people think that nobody's listening to them. Many people are listening. We all acknowledge and we agree on what they're saying, but it's kind of out of our hands other than to keep talking about it. So it's kind of frustrating. The other really hotspot area that people are besides themselves are the Broome Orchard area that came up in the Transportation Committee because DOT wanted to have a plaza. And I think the residents around there kind of freaked out because it would mean more people congregating in the area. So it wasn't approved. The bid called a meeting. So these are weekend crowds. The interesting thing is that the problems are not from licensed establishments. There are these lifestyle establishments that sell clothing, and there are art galleries, and they sell sneakers, and it's kind of a lifestyle party type thing. And they don't risk losing a license, but they're impacting. I'm getting complaints from the licensed businesses. Some of the restaurants are actually closing early because their crowds are running into their space and they're afraid of losing their license. So we had preliminary phone call today. We're going to try and have a multi-agency meeting again to work with the city on how the city can engage with this issue. It's kind of the same story again and again. I wrote a letter. I was approached by Kassir, the lobbyist that represents Project Renewal. All the adult shelters in CB3 have been emptied for social distancing. All the city contracted or city shelters. And the ones in Kenton Hall and Project Renewal have been moved to the Upper West Side. And I'm sure you've all heard about the issues on the Upper West Side. You're only hearing, there's a lot of people complaining, and you're only hearing about that. It's actually all the elected officials and the community board are working to resolve issues like find public space for the shelter residents and programming, that kind of thing. So I was asked, at first I was asked if the board could support Project Renewal, and I said, that would take a month because it would have to go on the agenda, but I offered to do what I've done many times in the past, is if I'm asked about working with a specific organization or place, I give a reference on good neighbor, bad neighbor thing. So I have written a letter for project renewal as district manager, my experiences over the last 16 years working with them. They had wanted me to send to Board 7, but I thought that was kind of presumptuous because Board 7 wanted a recommendation. They would ask me. So I'm sending it to the president of Project Renewal so that he can use it as he wants. I'm letting, just letting everyone know because this has been in the news and it has been so controversial. If you would like me to read the letter to you, I'm happy to. It's kind of long, but that's up to you. Just let me know what you prefer.
So just for the notes, what exactly are they asking for support from us for?
Oh, have you been hearing about on the Upper West Side people yelling? Those are our shelter residents. That's our 3rd Street Project Renewal and Kenton Hall Project Renewal.
I see.
So what I am writing about is our experiences working with Project Renewal.
Oh, so supporting the organization's work. I see. Okay.
It's a letter basically saying that they've been very responsive, very collaborative. We've had community meetings with them. I even talk about, how we've had some of the residents several years ago come and testify at our board meetings to support a K2 resolution about K2. So that's it.
Got it.
Susan, can you,
Thank you.
what was the result of today? I know you attended a press conference about the PSA 4. Can you tell us a little more about that?
Can I finish? We finish the letter issue first?
Okay, go ahead.
So I'm asking the exec, do you want me to read the letter to you? It's kind of long. I just explained what it's about. Would you like me to read the letter to you?
Well,
I personally say don't read the letter. I say send us a copy of the letter so we can all read it on our own. That's me. I don't know what everyone else feels, so I'm not going to speak for everyone.
There are 2 hands up, Lisa and Michelle. Are your questions about the letter or about something earlier because they've been up for a while?
Mine was about something earlier, but I agree. Just sending us the letter would be fine.
Okay, I will do that. And Michelle, I assume, is the one.
Oh yeah, sorry, I'll lower it. But I also just wanted to ask about the Orchard Broom situation. I think I know which establishment you're talking about, but have people tried to talk to the establishment themselves about it? Because yes.
It's the one right across this. Well, first of all, it's not one. The worst one is right across from Cafe Kacha. I think it's called Iams. There have been the police have been there. There have been multiple conversations. Absolutely. But there are bodegas that are having their own party. There's a barber shop. I mean, these businesses just decide, well, everyone will feel great if I do this thing that creates lots of people. We also have roving bands that put out hats. We have that on St. Mark's too. And someone said, what's so bad about that? It's fine in the subway. And it's like, yeah, it is fine if you're walking by it in the subway or waiting for a train. But if you're living above it for 6 hours, it's not always so fine. But yes, there's been, and that was the first thing that came up on the phone call. Has there been attempts to educate? And absolutely. And I'll just briefly, Alicia, about the press conference. I never went because my 2:30 call turned into a Zoom meeting, which was about Broom and Orchard. So I wasn't able to make it to the press conference. Carlina had a press conference today about Officer Gonzalez, the officer who beat up a resident on 9th Street and Avenue D, and who has not been charged with anything.
Susan, are you ready for questions or do you have more?
I was just going to talk a little bit about the those workshops coming up, but I'm happy to take questions now.
Well, Lisa's the only one with her hand still up. So Lisa, do you want to ask your question?
Yes, please.
Sorry, I muted by accident.
Oh, I thought I unmuted myself. Sorry. You can hear me now, right?
Yes.
Okay. In the context of the comment made about people voluntarily resigning,
No, yeah. Well,
I
volunteer
just,
to be laid off.
okay, thank you for the correction. I just wanted to understand, was that apropos of any announcement you've received about a possible budget cut, or that was just out of the blue?
This is in addition to the budget cut we already got for this year. I had, before the fiscal year started, had announced that we had $8,000 cut from our budget.
Right, but that wasn't the.
That has nothing to do with this.
Right. There was no anticipation that there would have to be a staff reduction, is what I'm getting at.
No.
No, the eighth, we will manage without the 8,000. For one thing, we got discretionary funds from our council member. We have backup funds. So we are managing.
Right, all I'm trying to get at is there was no reason for anybody to resign. That's all I want. I understand.
No, it wasn't, but because it was being offered to people, I felt that I had to give them the option. Not so that we can save money, but because they might want the option.
Thank you for the clarification.
So the only other thing I wanted to mention, I wanted to really recommend those workshops that the Community Engagement Commission is offering. I thought the one on parliamentary procedures was absolutely excellent. I know Sandra thought so also. I'd like to know what May and Jackie thought about it. I thought it was very clear and concise, and instead of talking about a million different parliamentary procedures, it focused on motions and amendments, but then everything around it, like how they're brought up, how the context of what the chair is doing, the context of order of rules that govern the community board's use of procedures. So I thought that was really good. I want to recommend the other ones. Just two interesting things I'll say from that. They said the two essential leadership positions in each committee are the chair and secretary. And they said the chair has three main functions: to maintain order, to make sure people speak in turn, and to enforce the agenda. And then one other interesting thing, we keep talking about motions for minutes. You do not have to have a motion to vote on minutes. You can say, does anyone have any objections to the minutes? And if there are none, the chair can deem the minutes approved, which will streamline it even further. And that's it if there's no more questions.
But we still have to take attendance though, right?
We do.
Yeah.
We do. But because there's been so many, the reason I'm mentioning this is people seem to have a problem on knowing whether they have to, it's really difficult for people to remember that they don't have to make motions, they don't have to second it. And if you want, we could change the agenda to approval of minutes and roll call, and that might make it easier for people, but you should let me know what you want on that.
Yeah, it would be.
I think
It would
that's
make it easier to remember.
Yeah,
Would you like me to do that?
I would.
Sure.
Okay, so we'll change where it says approval of minutes, we'll say approval of minutes and roll call, and you will know, all you need to do is ask if there's objections. If there are no objections, deem the minutes approved and call the roll.
Thank you, Susan. Okay, now we're going to move into the committee reports. SLA.
Yeah, can I also say, I think there's some confusion about the minutes because on the vote sheet, it actually appears with a section for voting. And maybe if you just make it a line item with no section for voting, it'll be less confusing. People will remember they don't have to fill that part in.
I will change that.
With respect to the report, there's not really anything to report. I appreciate that you came, Alicia. I know I took a little while with the Fry guy. I was trying to get him to actually talk because at the end, he provided me with useful information to include in the resolution, which was really that he doesn't know anything about the area or have any experience with what he's doing. But you saw that he thought that he was doing something good and provided people comfort.
Yeah, I saw that. I'm still very disappointed because I feel that they are in total denial of something that I know he must have signed off on. He had to have.
Susan's got her hand up for a question.
Yeah, thank you. So I wanted to talk to that issue also. I watched a little bit of the video and I was appalled that he took no responsibility. You know, it's one thing to do.
I'm sorry to speak out of turn, but I don't think everybody knows what you're talking about. I don't know who this person is.
You want me to
Could
give
you
us
give us
summary? There was
Alex, give some background, please.
There was an application on the agenda this month for 132 Ludlow Street for a fast food, like a takeout Belgian fry place. The place had actually opened in May, and in May, very close in time with its opening, if not at the same time as its opening, it shut down the street, or people on its behalf shut down the street with 30 to 50 luxury cars, including a Porsche, a DeLorean, and this giant white SUV with giant wheels. I mean, white truck with giant wheels. Again, the man was saying he had nothing to do with it. It was just his friends doing a kindness, but they produced decals, adhesive decals to put on the cars that advertised his business. One of these car aficionados, according to him, was also a DJ and brought all his equipment with him and set it up on the street. They cordoned off the street and crowds started to gather, and it became incredibly unruly and loud. And they all the videos of it all of them seemed to be carrying around the cones of fries. So we heard it was listed as beer license. The attorney said it was actually a wine beer license. So we heard it because it wanted to stay open until 2 and 4 a.m. But also because there already been this incident. Susan had emailed me and said that she and the precinct and the bid and local elected officials or their representatives had to actually show up on site at some point because of problems with respect to the business, which that guy denied knowing anything about that at all. But you know, what he was saying was unbelievable because there was a lot of documentary evidence about his event and like the promotion of his event before and after the event. And Alicia did come as well because she said she saw the event, and Herman spoke to the event, which he saw live streamed. And then Michelle also found like this promotional video that they posted after the event, which was both inside and outside the location, had people driving by in the fancy cars, had him in a fancy car, and you could see his logo on all the fancy cars.
Okay, so like I said, you would not believe the number of complaints at all the elected officials' offices, everybody. I actually got a complaint at the time from Jamie Rogers, who was down there, and I called the captain and he sent someone over immediately. So today, after I saw a little bit of that video, I called and I spoke to the police that actually was there. And it was a community affairs person. And I repeated the fact that this person had said he didn't know anything about it. He took no responsibility. So what happened is when the police got there, they immediately told him to shut down the DJ, and he immediately shut down the DJ, which, although according to him, he had nothing to do with the DJ and he wasn't in charge of him, but he shut him down in 5 minutes. He also said he didn't know anything about it, but added that his daughter, who I don't think any of it, I don't know if any, I didn't know she existed before. It's either his daughter's business or his daughter's running it day to day. The police weren't clear, but when he was saying he didn't know about it, he seemed to be sloughing it off on his daughter. And he did mention, now he had no idea that the whole thing existed, but he told the police that the money collected was going to first responders, so it was a good thing. I had reported a second event, so I researched that more, and his business is actually being lumped together with other non-licensed businesses. So he wasn't actually the cause of the second event. And the site meeting we had, he actually wasn't there. It was everybody from these offices to discuss the issue, because all of the offices had so many complaints. My concern about this is that it was so egregious and the person is not taking any responsibility at all. I'm afraid that if we, although ordinarily any beer wine is going to get approved, I don't know if that's true under the conditions that he was breaking social distancing, which the SLA for one brief period in time seems to be very enforcing. And I'm just concerned about how it might impact our credibility in asking for enforcement if we support the business. And I'd like to know what people think about that.
Well, we discussed that strategically. If you watched the meeting, then you saw that we did, and thought it was better to do the resolution this way. But I think that we were all open to doing it either way. We just wanted to do the thing that we thought would be most effective in curbing him in some way.
So I understand that totally. I'm sorry I wasn't there. I thought it was so clear cut as like one of the worst events of the year that I didn't need to be there. And I understand totally what you're saying about impacting the license. I just think looking at the bigger issue of all the problems we have with enforcement, that I think, I mean, to look at what scenarios could happen. The SLA could deny them, or if they prove them, I am certain they would put extremely strict restrictions on them, but we would not have supporting them, be part of our, it wouldn't be support from us. And, I would just ask that, that you might want to consider whether that's a possibility, considering what I have found out from the police today.
Do you want me to bring up the vote sheet to show the resolution?
It's not there because I hadn't finished them yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I don't know that it really impacted, to be honest. I don't know that it makes a difference.
I'm open to a different resolution being moved at full board. I think it would help to be able to include something more specific, which we hadn't done because I have information about complaints to all the elected officials, but if we have that, then I could document it in part of the resolution.
If you think that's a good idea, so I could put in writing to you kind of what the reports from the police today, which I think, the fact that we got them after the meeting in response to his response makes it pretty rational. And you want specific complaints from elected officials, or basically they got the same complaints, or do you just want their names? Because they got the same complaints we got.
I guess I'd like maybe who the elected officials were, the approximate number of complaints, maybe who the elected officials were who had to respond to address this in some way also would be helpful.
They don't. So what we usually do on this, and particularly when we're all on the same emails, this is and it's actually something I forgot to talk about in my report. We have a policy of always having one office in lead. And so we have one office answer and just copy other offices.
No, I understand that. I meant with respect to the email you sent that I distributed to the other committee members in advance of the meeting to look at, that said that what was going on required a response from the bid, from the precinct, and also from various elected officials. So it would be helpful if we could say, in fact, this is what happened. These people are the ones who responded, or representatives of these people are the ones who responded.
Are you talking about at the meeting we had?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that I can do. You specify who was at the meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's it. Otherwise, it was fine. The rest of the meeting was fine.
Okay.
Alex, is that all for your report?
Yes. Walter Paul did ask Susan if you could be his mentor, though.
Oh my God.
But that was just a funny thing, and we can move on.
Thank you, Alex.
You're welcome.
Transportation, Paul?
Sorry, I'm still stuck on the DeLorean part.
No, I couldn't believe it. I was looking at it, I was like, oh my God.
It was pretty crazy.
I saw it too. I walked down that block when it was happening and I was like, what the hell is going on?
I thought I was in Back to the Future.
Exactly. So it's a perfect segue for transportation. I would say it was an uneventful meeting, but it kind of was with the partnership and the neck down extension. We chose to postpone the item indefinitely just because we wanted to see the Tenement Museum show up for the item, not just the partnership and a letter. I think there's a lot of questions from the community in regards to the neck down extension and the pedestrian plaza. So we decided to postpone the item indefinitely until there's some more support in a potential resolution. Other than that, it was quite eventful. I think the chat room got a little bit out of hand, even after we had, or I had actually explained to the community, well, the rules and the regulations, and it had been posted at the beginning of the meeting, and people were saying that they were getting shut up. They were getting told not to say anything. And I was like, that's not true. I believe I gave the public enough time and ample time to say comments, and we ended up postponing the item indefinitely as it was. So we'll see it when it comes back, whenever it comes back. Other than that, that's it.
Well, if that happens again, you can always do what we do at Parks and change the chat so that it only goes to the host of the meeting.
We did.
I did.
And then we got the chats.
Okay.
And then I don't know what a pitchfork feels like, but what an online pitchfork feels like, I think that's kind of what happened.
This way they're at least not feeding off of each other.
No, but they got a good piece of me, so it was interesting. But I think it worked out in the end, and hopefully we'll get to hear it again at some point.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
Okay, Health and Human Services.
Hello. So at the last meeting,
You're muted, May.
May, we lost you.
Muted.
oh, I see you do that.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, there you go. Okay. So the we had our committee meeting. We mainly talked about district needs. This time it was about health. We had 3 speakers. Oh, economic development got skipped, Paul says.
Sorry, I saw it. Sorry, Nisha, we'll come back to you. I'm sorry.
Do you want to go back now, or we'll go? Okay, we'll go back later.
I need to put on my glasses. After you, May, we'll go back to an economic development. I'm sorry.
Okay, so yeah, so the main we talked about the health section, and we had 3 speakers, 2 from the federally qualified healthcare centers, Betances and Charles B. Wang, and also somebody from Gouverneur. And I think the takeaway was that every year we talk about various health diseases, and the prevalence, but this year they all talked about the same thing. They talked about mental health. They talked about child development. And they talked about what people call the social determinants of health. So that's like everything that's happening now, and it covers all the committees, like it's the housing, the loss of businesses and jobs, what's going on with the school and the kids, suddenly, their whole life has changed. So they said those things are the things that really need to be fixed. If we, are to, if we're going to talk about, what's the main thing that's affecting the health of our community, it's those things. So the takeaway was that it wasn't just, health is not just in its own little, this is not rocket science and it's not new, but this is what they emphasized this year, that it's not just something in its own little silo, but it's, everything is impacting the health. And also the institutions, I think the health clinics, the state of them are, they told us this before, they need a lot of repairs, some of them are in NYCHA buildings, some of them are not, but they get very little capital funding for the repairs that they need. Okay, so the other thing is, the census. I know that I said I was going to send out an email, but I never did. But send a draft to Alicia to send out to the whole board. But because I felt that we had a little bit more time. So what's happening now, I heard, is that the Census Bureau originally planned to end all operations at the end of October, but now they want to end them at the end of September. So there's a lot of uproar about that. I don't know if some national groups are planning to sue about it, but that's, cuts into the time, and they have started the door knocking operations. So I think the message is to, people can still go answer the census, and avoid a knock on your door. But I'm just wondering if anyone has any ideas about what we can do. Is there a message that we need to send out to somebody or target certain groups? I look at the hard to count map. So yeah, our neighborhood is considered good compared to other neighborhoods. Like no one ever prioritizes us, but still, for the whole city, the response rate is about at best, a little over 50%. So you can say that there's another 40% that haven't responded.
May I can that door knocking has started in my complex.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I just wanted to let you know, I've asked my family members, actually, each one to reach one. I've asked all of them to reach out to their friends in our community, in the African American community, to actually just say, listen, we are low on a totem pole. Our people do not respond to this survey, and I think that it's very important. And even I tell my coworkers, I said everyone needs to fill out the census form. So I have done my part as far as that's concerned, but I think that each one of us needs to reach out to our friends and our family members, just asking them, hey, did you fill out your census? I think that it's a very important thing, because I got actually one of my coworkers that said to me, hey, what's the importance of filling out this census? And I was kind of shocked. I was like, oh my gosh, it's everything. It's everything that we need in our community. So I think a lot of people really don't understand the importance of filling out the census. That's another thing.
Okay, so maybe that's what we could do, is maybe send out or at least to the board members or even to our mailing list, this is the importance, and then, talk to friends and family.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I think that would be helpful at this time. There's a lot of organizations out there. I know Eric's organization is doing stuff like, door knocking, or not door knocking, giving out literature. And they don't want you to door knock now, because they don't want you to, they don't want to get confused with them, the actual Census Bureau door knockers.
Yeah. Mm-hmm,
no.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then the last thing is, so I'll try to draft something if you think it's necessary. Do you want me to draft something, or does somebody want to help draft something? Or maybe you can just get some ready-made material to send out.
Okay.
Let me see.
Yeah, we can send out before Monday. We should really try to get it in by Monday, because we have full board on Tuesday. So if you want to say something at full board on Tuesday about it too, May, that might be helpful as well.
Okay, let me also find what else was something that maybe that's already ready-made.
Okay.
Let me see if Julie Menon's office has something so we don't have to reinvent, something that's like graphical.
Okay.
Hey, there's, I think I still have them, but there's graphics that they sent out a while ago that we published on our social media. I'll look, if I still have them, I can send them to you.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay, so the other thing is just the schools, it's, oh God, it's, I don't know what's going to go on with what's going to happen to the schools, but they're supposed to open.
Ready. They're not ready.
They're not ready, right.
They're not ready.
And then there's this thing with the transportation and the open streets and the parks. And, last week or a couple of weeks ago, Susan had to intervene because, there was a school in our area who, they tried to apply online through the website and they get a reply says, we'll get back to you in October, which was not what they needed. So I think they're trying to work on the DOE central office is trying to work on this process where the schools can get, the outdoor space or the parks or everything that they need. And at Borough Board, I said that they should also, and Susan told me, they should loop in the community board because we deal with parks and streets and so many other things. Yeah, but they're not ready at all.
Yeah, no. I mean, I work in a school building and I see what goes on all day long and it's just, they're not ready. I'm telling you guys right now, they're just not ready.
Yeah, we had a presentation and the schools could choose like 4 options, there's like 1, 2, or 3 cohorts and, all these cohorts are supposed to come into the building at certain times and be remote at certain times. It's, it's very confusing and chaotic.
Also, I would just want to let everyone know, I'm sorry, I should have added that to my report, but the DOE has deemed, because my concern has always been what happens when the children return to school and we have all these adults that have been coming to the school doors for food distribution. And so my question to my supervisor this week was, so what is going to happen? How do we handle the adults that have been now programmed for the past like 5 months to come get food from us and they no longer can? And so she said that there's going to be some schools in the area that are going to be deemed for afternoon distribution. So be on the lookout for that. I'll keep you guys posted. I'll let you know about it.
Okay.
Thank you, May. I'm sorry. Now we're going to go back to Anisha, economic development. Thank you, Anisha. I'm sorry.
No problem. My report is short, only 2 things. The first is the meeting went well. We had the Center for Urban Future come and speak to us in addition to Lesson. But if you look at the CB3 website, the 2 presentations are there. And there's the Center for Urban Future did sort of a dive into sectors in CB3 that have been most affected by the pandemic. The top sort of being, retail, restaurants, and then a big portion of the performing arts. And then also sort of unemployment trends, because as you all know, we have a lot of community members who are not able to work right now. We don't necessarily have the highest in the city, but the highest below 96th Street. So something to consider. The presentation was good. And then the second thing, not really related to the committee meeting, is that, we, Susan, myself, Megan, we're getting a lot of emails, obviously, that, businesses in the neighborhood are closing. So I just wanted to give a shout out to Susan for fielding all of those emails and, sort of shepherding people to the right set of resources. There aren't that many resources, unfortunately. There's some technical assistance and there's some ability to still get capital through these various programs, but I think this is, we're going to see a lot more businesses close. So thank you to Susan for handling all of that.
Thank you, Anisha. Land use.
Yeah, so we had a meeting this month and we approved CB3 to sign on the Two Bridges co-applicants cover letter to DCP for resubmitting the rezoning application. So if DCP turns down this application again, then the co-applicants may sue the city, but CB3 would not be part of it, but that's the future. And other than, that's all I have.
Sorry. The letter was very long. I don't know if everyone got an opportunity to read it, but I will encourage all of you over the weekend, if you have a little spare time, to just sit down and just read it. It was very technical, a lot of it, but very thorough as well. So thank you, Jackie. That was awesome. Your committee really worked very hard on that.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to landmarks.
Okay, well, we had a very lively discussion regarding PS 64, Charis, and the current conditions there, which are continuing to deteriorate. And there's a great deal of alarm in the community because people are getting into the building and damaging it. The police have said they can't go in there because they don't have permission from the owner. So it's kind of a standoff. So we have a resolution which you could read at your leisure. The whereases go on and on and on and on, and they're essentially a history of what's gone on with PS 64. But we had some asks which I'll share with you. First of all, the Department of Building should immediately secure the building and make emergency repairs and bill the owner. That public safety issues at the building, including but not limited to fire hazard and materials that could fall off at any time, DOB must issue a warrant allowing NYPD to enter the building. Landmarks Commission should take legal action to compel repairs and issue the maximum fines retroactively and moving forward. We do feel that LPC has been not slow walking exactly, but I know they're very careful about bringing demolition by neglect charges against owners of buildings that are allowed to deteriorate. However, they really need to move forward with that. And that the city should retain a preservation engineer as soon as possible to assess the building for potential hazards. I think that the Landmarks Commission has such engineers in contract and they can do that. I'll just read the last bit further. CB3 reiterates its call made in a resolution in 2013 requesting that the de Blasio mayoral administration return the former PS 64 school building to the community by legally retrieving and then selling or giving it to a well-established not-for-profit organization with a long history of serving the people of the Lower East Side, East Village, including but not limited to restoring the not-for-profit organization known as Charis El Bohio to the building. As some of you know, back in 2013, the mayor did promise to reacquire the building and he has not done so. Questions? I think with a hand up, maybe.
Is there a hand? Oh,
I raised my hand.
Susan, sorry.
So I just wanted to ask on the Department of Buildings ordering the, I don't remember exactly what it was, but is that a power that they have?
Which one? To ask to give permission to the NYPD? You mean that one?
Yeah, is that a power they have?
We don't know.
Well, shouldn't we research it before we tell them to do it? I mean, telling them to do something we have no idea if they can do. And I kind of actually doubt that they can.
Yeah, I guess maybe it should just be slightly changed that they should compel the owner to give that permission.
That would be good. Because even if DOB had the power, which I doubt, it would go through their legal department and would be stuck there for at least a year.
Okay, I'll just add that as a friendly amendment.
okay. Thank you, Linda. Parks? Trevor?
I always a number of issues with parks. Very long agenda, very long meeting. Same thing will repeat the next year, probably with the project going on. But ESCR was mainly an update, although I do have to ask a question to exec about the CAG because it's not listed as one of our task force and subcommittees because we are just a member. But I do need to give updates, and they've already sent out one request to have a vote, and I need to know how we're going to proceed as a community board because a lot of these issues are timely. But I can save that for the end of my report. The only resolution we had to do with Pier 35, which is suffering a lot of what we're seeing in the city, sort of on an escalated level because it is a park under destruction with a number of crimes. So what we're trying to do is be very preventative because there's already been at least a couple of bodies found off the waterfront, lots of crime. So we're really trying to be preventative because we don't want more issues. And that is to enforce the rules that we already have, which is closing the park. It was either 11 and 1. We sort of split in the middle at midnight, which I think is still late, but I think it's fair. It gives people enough time to enjoy and then get out of there before trouble starts. Problem is that area is difficult to close, so we ask for physical barriers and some more police enforcement and some maintenance issues, but that was the only resolution. With regards to the CAG, I know Susan has her hand up, but
I was going to answer your question.
Okay, go ahead and answer.
So we have this on quite a few committees where we can just add, if you want, it can be one of those every month things, like update from the community advisory group.
Sure, and what about the votes?
Well, if it's a specific vote, like if you want to put, if the issue of making the meeting public, if that's one of the issues, I would suggest that we put that on the agenda specifically.
Yeah, the thing is that they're not going to wait for our vote, and that means either I vote or I don't vote.
We have that problem a lot.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually kind of what happened with the co-applicants. People should realize, I mean, you have Board 6 on there also, right?
Yeah, they handle things just a little different.
I mean, that should be, generally we make it as part of, state that in the beginning, if you want the board to be an active member of this in voting, you have to understand our procedures. And we've done that with every group that we've been on.
Okay.
So you please, if you could email me exactly what you want to add to the September agenda, whether it should just be a CAG update or if you want me to put anything specific on.
Okay, that was it.
Thank you, Trevor. Anyone have any questions for Trevor? Any hands? I don't see, I can't see.
Just Susan, but I believe that was what the hand was up for, so.
Okay.
It was, but I forgot, I don't know if this is a good time, let me know. I forgot something incredibly important from my report. Would it be, it's about a meeting, September meeting, if I could mention that now, is that okay?
Yeah, okay, Susan, go ahead.
Okay, so I don't know if you guys have looked at the September agenda, but September is when we have our budget consult meeting. So that is on the agenda. We have it, we will advertise it on our website as always, and we always send out a flyer to all the community groups. It would be good if we can, this time we can advertise it on social media. So generally the chair chairs that meeting, and we try to get all of the chairs of the different committees to attend and be the committee for that meeting.
Okay. Thank you, Susan. NYCHA and Section 8 Subcommittee did not report. Jackie and I need to, Jackie, we need to have a conversation because there's some conversation that has been generating from Sandra and I think she's trying to get a few other members on board. I think they want to have a conversation to have an agenda item added at your committee level.
Yeah. I also had a conversation with her, and I just sent you an email 30 minutes ago trying to see if we can talk after the exec.
Sure. That's not a problem. I just need a 5-minute break. Okay. Arts and Cultural Subcommittee is going to meet on tomorrow. Anisha, is there anything in particular that they're meeting about?
What meeting tomorrow?
It already met.
Oh, they already met. I'm sorry. Yeah.
But there are no updates from
Okay.
updates from that.
Okay. Thank you. Chinatown Neighborhood Planning Subcommittee, there's nothing to report there. Any old business? Old business. Any new business? All right. A vote to adjourn. May I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Jackie. Second?
Second.
Don't need to do
Who's that, Michael?
Are we breaking the rule already, Susan?
it.
Oh, we need to take a roll call vote?
Yeah, just take,
Yes.
just do.
Sorry. So can we have a roll call vote and the vote to adjourn at the same time? Let's do that. Go ahead,
You
Michelle.
may. Alicia Lewis Coleman,
Yes.
Michael Marino,
Yes.
Lisa Kaplan,
Yes.
Eric Diaz,
Yes.
Michelle Coopersmith, yes. Herman Hewitt,
Where did Herman go?
Herman is elusive. Okay.
Now you know.
Anisha Stephen,
Yes.
Mei Lee,
Yes.
Jackie Wong,
Yes.
Linda Jones,
Yes.
Alexandra Militano,
Yes.
Trevor Holland,
Yes.
Paul Rangel.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. I want you all to have a great weekend. I will see you all on Tuesday night Zoom.
Okay.
Okay.
Herman
All
is
right.
in
Okay.
the
Bye.
panelist, by the way.